All right, Mayor Robert, I have to change up the rotation a little bit, so you're first off this month. Welcome back to Mayor's Monday.
Well, my buddy Mike is in Nicaragua from Stevens Point. I hope he's having a good time. I'm sure he's certainly much warmer than the rest of us.
Oh, absolutely. But then again, we can't complain about the day that we're in.
No,
the
not
last
at all.
couple of days that we've had here this week.
I'll happily fill in for him. So.
Absolutely. And, it's, again, not that we don't have any shortage of things to talk about at all, because it's the topic that just keeps going on and on right now is Thomas Street. And, of course, first off, demonstrators at City Hall yesterday before the last week before the meeting, everything went smoothly. They were peaceful. There were no incidents. Right. I mean, to the people, demonstrating, they didn't get what they wanted. The Thomas Street vote passed. It was again very narrow. Mm-hmm. But what do you have to say to those that were demonstrating and that feel like their voice hasn't been heard in the city?
Well, for the most part, most of those folks I know and I'm friendly with, I actually went out there and talked to them, invited them in case they were cold. And more importantly, they have that right to protest. I'm all for freedom of speech. Everybody has a right to their opinion. And to give them credit, they were very respectful, as I knew they would be, and very decent. They have that right, is what it boils down to. Any citizen has that right. Now, as far as them not getting what they wanted, this has been, since 2002, an actual process, so almost 16 years for Thomas Street. It was actually talked about far more ahead of time for years to do something with the street, being widen it or doing something as far as different construction. We definitely need to replace the water pipes and everything underneath it, and you kind of like to do it all in one shot, which after almost 16 years of debate finally came to a close last night. And to be very honest, we heard from more residents in the sense they want a closure, they want to have something done. I can think of 2002, so that's how many different city councils. It's been under 3 different mayors. The good news is it is finished in the sense that we're going to be moving forward. Again, and I cannot reiterate this enough, every resident that lives in that area, whether they own their home or a renter, an apartment, whatever, those folks will be treated decently and honestly and fairly, just like the folks who are on the other side. We've had no major issues with that as far as how residents were treated. Some aren't happy with the medians. Even I've got my doubts, but it is what it is. The good news is, after 16 years, we're moving forward and people can get some closure in their lives and lose some anxiety. Are we going to make everybody happy? No. But the way I understand it, the majority of the residents are happy that something has finally been done.
And one thing in talking with some of the demonstrators, in fact, one of the men leading the charge in the demonstrations, he says, I'll give the city credit because we feel like the city has met us in the middle on certain aspects, and that included the 60% design, which saves more properties than the previous iteration, the 30% design.
Well, I don't want to make it about me, but one thing I've done in addition, not just for this project, but for others, is to get more public input, especially for those residents whose lives are going to be affected by something like this. And we've had more hearings, more public meetings, hired translators, had more testing done, halted the project while I had ordered more testing done because it hadn't been done in years. We did everything right. The DNR has backed us up in the sense that this is actually a pretty easy fix as far as the soil contamination and what to do with it. I understand where those residents are coming from and their concerns. But we're dealing with this stuff right now on the riverfront, and there's been no major issues. Apparently, as I've said before, it's actually a pretty easy fix.
Get the soil out of there so that way people aren't breathing it anymore, and
Exactly.
It's not a concern.
And going back to what you had asked, I've heard that too since I've taken over as mayor, is that more people do have a say. And we have reached out to residents for different projects and different things going on. People know more as far as what is happening. Again, we're not going to make everybody happy, but at least people know about it. And that hasn't always been the case before, and it is now.
Any other major road construction projects that you'll be moving forward with as we slowly transition from winter to road construction season here in town?
Nothing major per se. I know there's some things coming next year in 2019. Obviously, we got to get the funding and everything for that. but really it's going to be a pretty quiet year overall.
Of course, the other big story to come out of Wausau in the last couple of months, you got a brand new police chief that's took over last week, actually,
Correct.
to begin his tenure. Talk about what he's going to bring to the table for
Ben
the city.
Bliven, and I'm trying to contain my enthusiasm, but Ben Bliven is just the epitome of a great dynamic leader. Very diplomatic, very smart, but the thing I love about him, he's so compassionate. He truly cares about people, and he's a good guy in that sense. The Wausau Police Department, I've said this before numerous times, but I honestly believe it is the best police department in America, and that goes back to the previous chief's leadership. I think the world of that department and those folks that work over there. The command staff is excellent as well, with Todd Baton and Matt Barnes now, who's going to be deputy chief. But Ben Bliven is just the epitome of a top-notch, not just leader, but just a human being, just really a good guy. And I'm excited about the change. I wish Chief Hardell the very best in his retirement and appreciate everything that he did for the city. That's life. Changes happen, and it's a good change, and I'm excited about the future. Ben Bliven, I could not say enough good things about.
And one thing that, in talking with Ben last week, he's credited Chief Hardell with setting up this department and making this an easy transition. I know one thing that a lot of people have said is every person in a position of authority right now in that department has been promoted from within over
Correct.
the last couple of decades or so. How does that stability play into the police department's
The
success?
stability plays into part, number one, people know what they're doing. They're groomed for that position for the future. It's not just automatically handed to them. But that stability is good because not only does the department know their focus and their mission and their direction for the future, but that individual has come up through the ranks and know what needs to be done, know who they got to talk to in order to get things accomplished. I do have to give credit to Chief Hardell for setting this up for the Wausau Police Department and for the future. As I said before, it's the best police department in America. I say that in a very unbiased way, but people want to accuse me of such, that's fine. I'm very proud of that department. I'm very proud of all our employees. I've said this before, I think the world of our staff. And if people, the regular residents, knew how much time and effort and dedication that not just department heads, but regular rank and file employees gave to the city, it's unbelievable. We got a good thing here going on at City Hall, and we're gonna maintain it. But the Wausau Police Department is in great hands. There's no concerns or anything like that. In the long term, they make my job easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And whenever you have people in spots like that that are just doing their job, it makes the job easier for everybody involved.
You know, I've had a mantra here at City Hall since I took over, because everybody knows there used to be some problems here in the past. But my philosophy of life at work is pretty simple. 1, come into work on time. 2, do the best job possible. 3, be nice and get along with your coworkers. 4, stay out of the politics and the BS. And 5, go home. It's pretty simple. And there has been a turnaround here in the last almost 2 years, and I'm going to see that through and keep it going for as long as I'm in office. And the good news is it has been very positive. It has been very peaceful, and we're going to keep it going that way. I have no real concerns with any of my staff or any of the department heads. They are a great group of people. I could not say enough good things about them. And they make me look good, so for that I'm very grateful. But don't think for 1 second, if it's needed, there's always accountability, and that has been shown in the past too. You know, I'm not a micromanager. I don't interfere unless I have to, but we haven't had a situation in some time. But if we do, it is taken care of, and things keep moving good for the goodness of the organization.
Absolutely. So what was your biggest piece of advice then that you gave Mr. Bliven before he took office last Monday?
I guess if I wouldn't even say it's advice. Ben is a sharp, smart guy, and he knows what he's doing. He doesn't need a lot of advice from me. But I guess if it's one thing I did say to him a while back, have fun, you know? Being in public service is truly a gift, is the way I look at it. And it's what you make out of it, like it is for any other job. But you know, there's going to be days it's going to be unbelievably stressful or complicated. You don't get everything done that you want it. So some days you do have to have a little fun involved. No, there's not too much I have to say to Ben. He knows what he's doing.